How do you anticipate MCP influencing developer workflows, particularly in database management and integration tasks?
I don't know. I mean, I see the potential for things that can be done with it. I put together that demo of, creating a Timescale cloud instance, leading a Timescale cloud instance using MCP. That's kind of like the no-brainer MCP is like anything that you have as an API today, you wrap it in MCP, and then you can talk to it with an LLM and you could get the LLM to do everything for you. That's the potential of where it could go. There's a different question, which is kind of wrapped up in that, which is like, well, will people do that? Will they use it? Is there utility in this, right? And I think that there's like utility in the sense that you are definitely lowering the bar, like the threshold to access to these APIs, because just like, you don't need to read the API documentation. You just tell the LLM, hey, I want to do this thing. Like, can you do it? And it's like, oh yeah. So by the way, I have these create timescale service function that is available to me. I could use that to create a service for you. Like I can figure out all the details that you need, and we can see if we can make it happen. So definitely like lowering the threshold for entry there. I don't know. Like I think there's a question there around like, how real is that for like real world use cases? Like is it? I know you mentioned integration testing, for instance. Like how does MCP interact with integration testing? I don't know. Like I think if I'm writing integration tests, so I don't know. I've got caught now in that loop of where I was with my brain. But like if I'm writing integration tests and I want to spin up a Timescale cloud instance, I'm going to use the API. I'm not going to use the MCP thing because like I have code. My code is going to talk to other code using a code API. That's and not using an MCP API kind of thing. I do have my own workflows, and I'm kind of a bit skeptical about adopting new things and whether there's going to be benefit to them or not. So I'm definitely not an early adopter. I'm more of like a late adopter. If I see like use cases where it's like, oh, well, that's, to be fair, like I do use Claude like every day. It's read all the documents. It knows about everything. Right? And so you ask it like, can you do this thing? And it tells you, yeah, you can do this. And you're like, are you sure? And it's like, well, actually, I'm not so sure. You're like, okay, well.
I would envision there would be a lot of easy buttons. Easy button, like click and it's done.
Yeah.
Like here's the CSV file. I need to do ongoing data capture for the CSV file into my table.
Yep.
Drag and drop, click, done. For developers, not necessarily UI, but again, it would be a lot of shortcuts comparing to what they're doing right now. For developers, workflow, it's booming. If you open YouTube and like enter MCP, there will be like gazillion of videos about how to enable MCP this, MCP that in your development workflow, Cursor and VS Code and so on. I did that for Postgres. I did few MCP servers just to play around with it, understand the protocol, understand the inner workings.
I guess I'll have to admit that I'm a bit of a Luddite here. So far, I've been hesitant to integrate an LLM directly into my editor and let it have at the code. I use PyCharm for writing Python. I use just a dumb editor and pSQL for writing SQL for the most part. Sometimes I do that in PyCharm too. I'm not writing much else other than Python and SQL at the moment. Although I will say that when I was playing around with Claude Code, I was blown away by how much better the interaction was when it could just see my code. With like Claude Desktop, it can't really see my code base, and so I have to put a lot more time into like giving it some context, maybe copy and pasting snippets and things like that. I don't know. I'm gonna play some more. The part that I was blown away by was just that the interaction was so much easier when it could just
see your code instead of copying like a snippet over. Yeah.
But that was also frustrating because there was one instance where I had done a previous run and I had all of these SQL answers and I wanted to run it again. It kept cheating. It kept looking at my previous answers in the file instead of using the database, and I had to like move the file someplace else where it couldn't. Like I said, I'm still not sold, and I'm still trying to like figure out which client I like the best. And at the moment, I'm just keeping my peanut butter and chocolate separate. I was curious to try about Claude Code instead of the CLI, and I kind of wanted to be able to script with it. Create a command where you say Claude Code, here's my prompt, like as CLI. Currently with like Claude Desktop, almost never is the code that it returns exactly what, and a lot of times even fully work. I use it for inspiration, and I use it to get brainstorm some ideas or teach me about some libraries or techniques that I wasn't aware of. I don't think I ever copy and paste verbatim. I usually type it out myself, and part of that is just the way my brain works. If I have to type it, I know I understand it. If it just copy pastes it or does it for me, then I'm not going to understand it on the level if I typed it out myself. Well, a little over a year ago, I was trying to get it to, I think it was Claude Code, or it might have been OpenAI. I was trying to get it to help me work on some Rust, and the Rust it wrote was just garbage. Like it never compiled, but it did give me ideas. And lately, I actually asked Claude Desktop. I was talking to it about MCP servers and Python, and the first version it gave me was just way more complicated than it needed to be. It was using like the low-level API in the framework instead of the higher-level stuff with decorators. So I kept asking it, like, is this necessary? Can it be simpler? And it'd be like, oh yeah, it could be. Okay, give me that version. And then I kept going, and then, you know, the amount of code got smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
One of the other things I've found frustrating about Claude Desktop, and it's probably true of the others as well, I just have kind of defaulted to Claude Desktop lately, is like a lot of times I'm asking a question and I just want an answer. Like I don't want code. Don't write the code for me. Just, I asked you if this is possible. Tell me if it's possible.